Welcome to Deep Dive, the novel Aftershow. This is the podcast where we uncover the hidden layers, unravel the twists, and explore the worlds within words of the novels of, well, me, J. Kevin Tomlinson. Whether you've just finished the book or you're curious about what's inside, spoilers and all, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
All right, let's dive in. We're taking a look at The Spanish Papers, an archaeological novel with a ton of mystery. Think retired archaeologist, old Spanish documents, a mysterious rocket ship sketch, and even whispers of a WWII Spanish squadron guarding ancient artifacts.
Yeah, The Spanish Papers really blends real historical events with a fictional narrative. Makes you wonder what's really out there.
It really does. Okay, so the story starts in Mesa, Arizona, with Ricky Miller, a retired archaeologist who gets lucky at a storage unit auction. He finds these old Spanish papers full of strange sketches, kind of like, those ancient alien shows.
The most interesting sketch is this rocket ship with Hohokam symbols all over it. And the thing is, the Hohokam were a Native American culture that lived in that area a long time ago. It makes you wonder, how did their symbols end up on a rocket design?
Right, it's like, did ancient civilizations actually have contact with aliens?
Exactly. And there's more. The papers also talk about the Division Azul, which translates to the Blue Division. It was a Spanish military unit from World War II.
Okay, so we've got ancient American symbols, a rocket ship, and a Spanish unit from WWII. I'm already trying to figure out how this all fits together.
Well, that's what pulls our main character, Dr. Dan Kotler, into this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's an archaeologist and an FBI consultant who specializes in historical crimes. When Ricky sends him an email about what he found, the Division Azul reference really gets his attention.
So Dr. Kotler is more like a detective than than a stereotypical archaeologist, right?
You got it. He's not just looking at artifacts. He wants to know what they mean in the grand scheme of human history. And his work with the FBI's Historic Crimes Division has given him this unique understanding of how things from the past can still affect us today.
So does Dr. Kotler hop on a plane to Arizona to see these papers for himself?
Oh, absolutely. The connection between the Hohokam symbols and a Spanish squadron from World War II, it's just too interesting to pass up.
Yeah.
He goes to Mesa to meet with Ricky and examine the documents, make sure they're authentic, and his focus on the Division Azul just keeps growing. But then, while he's in his hotel room, he gets a text from his FBI contact, Agent Roland Denzel, and things take a turn.
Uh-oh, that doesn't sound good. What did the text say?
Well, the text said that the Mesa police were asking about Dr. Kotler. They're saying that he was flashing FBI credentials and acting suspicious, which is a problem because he didn't even bring his credentials with him on this trip.
So someone's pretending to be Dr. Kotler and the police are after him. This is getting intense.
It is. And to make things even worse, Dr. Kotler tries to call Ricky, but he can't get a hold of him. He goes to Ricky's house, and let's just say that Ricky's adventures are over.
Wow, so now Dr. Kotler is stuck in a murder investigation and might be framed by an imposter. This is way more than just looking at some old papers.
It definitely is. Now, Dr. Kotler has to figure out the historical puzzle, clear his name, and find out who really killed Ricky. It's a lot to handle.
So what does he do? Does he just wait for the police to sort things out?
Dr. Kotler's not the type to sit around. He checks out the crime scene, looks for clues, and realizes that whoever broke in was looking for something specific.
Yeah.
And then, hidden under the floorboards, he finds yet another envelope with even more documents and a map with a swastika burned into it. The swastika is marking a spot in the nearby mountains.
A swastika. So are we talking about Nazis now? I thought we were dealing with a Spanish unit.
That's the thing. The swastika makes things even more complicated. It could be connected to the Blue Division, but it could also be something completely different. Remember, the swastika is an old symbol that has different meanings in different cultures.
Right. It doesn't automatically mean Nazis. This just keeps getting deeper.
It does. Dr. Kotler notices that the swastika on the map looks a lot like the symbols on the Hohokam artifacts from the Spanish papers. So he thinks it might be some kind of code. The map and those new documents, they point to a bigger conspiracy, something way beyond just the Blue Division.
Okay, so now Dr. Kotler's got this map, a possible code, and he's in a lot of danger. What does he do?
Well, that's where his FBI connection comes in. Agent Denzel arrives in Mesa, and at first, he's not so sure about Dr. Kotler's theories, but the evidence is pretty convincing, so they examine the map together and figure out that it's pointing to a specific place in the local mountains.
So they've got a destination, but are they walking into a trap?
Yeah.
Someone's trying to frame Dr. Kotler and wants to keep these secrets hidden.
Yeah, it's risky. But they decide to investigate anyway. They're determined to find out the truth, protect those artifacts, and maybe even stop something bad from happening because of these secrets.
This is getting really intense. We started with a discovery in a storage unit, and now we've got a murder, a conspiracy, and a dangerous trip into the Arizona mountains. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, in the next part of our deep dive, we'll find out what Dr. Kotler and Agent Denzel discover in those mountains. We'll also see how their investigation connects to something totally different happening in New York City, the world of art auctions and stolen artifacts.
Oh, wow. This is getting good. So we left Dr. Kotler and Agent Denzel heading into the Arizona mountains, following this map with a swastika marking a spot, like a treasure hunt, but way more dangerous.
Right. And while that's going on, the story takes us to New York City, where we meet FBI agent Liz Ludlam. She's good at what she does, and oh, by the way, she's also Dr. Kotler's love interest.
So there's another story happening at the same time as Dr. Kotler's investigation. Clever how the author does that. What's Liz working on in New York?
Liz is trying to uncover a network of auction houses that are, well, let's just say they're suspected of dealing in some shady historical artifacts.
Sounds like something out of a movie. A shady art heist, maybe. What kind of artifacts are we talking about here?
Not your everyday stolen art. These are historically significant objects, probably connected to those same secrets Dr. Kotler is chasing in Arizona. Remember, the book talks about powerful technologies being lost throughout history, and these artifacts might be the key to finding them again.
So it's not just about the money then, it's about the knowledge and power these artifacts could hold.
You got it. It's about controlling history, and maybe even controlling some dangerous technologies. Liz's investigation takes a dark turn when she finds out about Morgan Keller, who used to work at Baker Tate, a fancy auction house. Morgan was murdered, and it doesn't look like a random act.
Another murder. It seems like anyone who gets too close to these secrets ends up in danger.
That's what it's starting to look like. Liz partners up with Agent Danielle Brown, who's filling in for Agent Denzel back in Arizona. They dig deeper into this art theft world and find out about Andre Pierce. He's a freelancer who works for different auction houses, including Baker Tate, and he's the guy who makes deals for these expensive and often illegally obtained artifacts.
It's like every time they learn something new, things get more complicated and dangerous. Speaking of dangerous, what's going on with Dr. Kotler and Agent Denzel? Did they find that spot on the map?
They did. They find a hidden entrance to a cave, but before they can check it out, they run into some trouble, a group of armed men.
Armed men? Who are they?
These guys belong to a secret organization called the New Gods.
The New Gods. Sounds ominous. What do they want?
They're all about getting their hands on powerful artifacts. They think these objects can unlock ancient technologies, and that'll give them control over everything. And guess what? They have those Spanish papers that Ricky found.
So they're ahead of Dr. Kotler. It's a race to figure out the secrets before they use them for something bad.
It's a high-stakes race, that's for sure. Their leader, a pretty ruthless guy named Scope, knows that Dr. Kotler is an expert, and he forces him to translate the Spanish papers and the symbols in the cave. Scope thinks this will unlock the secrets hidden inside the mountain.
Dr. Kotler has to help the very people he's trying to stop. What does he do?
He tries to outsmart Scope with his knowledge, while also looking for a chance to get away and call for help. But then things get even more complicated because another group shows up. These guys are called the Knights of Janus.
Another secret organization. So now we've got the New Gods who want power from ancient artifacts, and the Knights of Janus. What are they all about?
Think of them like protectors of history. They believe that some really powerful technologies were lost a long time ago, and they're trying to keep those artifacts safe from anyone who would use them for the wrong reasons. It's like a constant battle between them and the New Gods. They're both after these powerful artifacts.
So it's like a battle between good and evil, fighting over relics that could change the world.
That's a good way to put it. And just when things look really bad for Dr. Kotler, the Knights of Janus show up. They're led by a guy named Granger, and they rescue Dr. Kotler and Agent Denzel from the New Gods.
That was a close one. What happened to Scope and his men?
They get away deeper into the caves. So now it's a chase. Dr. Kotler, Agent Denzel, and Granger trying to stop Scope and uncover all the secrets hidden in those mountains.
A chase through an ancient cave system with dangerous secrets at stake. What do they find in those caves?
They find this hidden chamber that's like a mirror image of the Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah.
It shows how much the people who built this place knew about astronomy. It's like they're saying there's a connection between what's up in the sky and what's down here on Earth. A lot of ancient cultures believe that,
Wow. A hidden room reflecting the stars. I'm starting to see why Dr. Kotler is so fascinated with history. It's not just about digging up old things, it's about the stories they tell.
It is. History is more than just facts and dates. It's a whole bunch of events and ideas that are all connected, and they still affect us today. And as they keep exploring, they find something even more amazing, a hidden passage that leads into the hanging mountains above that chamber.
Hanging mountains? That sounds incredible and kind of scary. What's up there?
Well, they finally find it, a hidden vault full of artifacts from all different cultures from hundreds of years ago. It's like a treasure trove of history. And it turns out this is one of the Knights of Janus' secret vaults, where they protect these objects from people who might want to use them for bad things.
So the Knights of Janus are like guardians of history, keeping these artifacts safe. This is like a real-life Indiana Jones adventure.
And don't forget about the Blue Division, those Spanish soldiers from World War II. The book suggests that they were actually Knights of Janus too, and their job was to protect this place and hide those artifacts during the war to keep them away from Hitler.
Wait, are you saying that Hitler's interest in ancient artifacts was real? He wasn't just a crazy dictator with a weird hobby?
The Spanish papers kind of implies that Hitler was really into those artifacts. It was part of the whole Nazi thing, trying to connect their regime to his legendary past. Like those new gods, they thought these objects held power, and that belief led them to take all sorts of historical treasures all over Europe.
It's like they were fighting a secret war for control over ancient knowledge that could change the world. Makes you wonder what other secrets are out there, right under our noses.
Exactly. History is full of stories we don't know and connections we haven't found yet. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll see what happens in the final showdown between the Knights of Janus and the new gods. We'll find out about the fate of those artifacts and learn about Dr. Kotler's theory of a question machine, which might help us understand what ancient structures are really trying to tell us.
Last time we left off, Dr. Kotler, Agent Denzel, and Granger were standing in front of this vault packed with artifacts from all over the world. It's like a hidden museum right in those Arizona mountains. What a find.
It really makes you think about how these secret societies, like the Knights of Janus and the New Gods, even though they want different things, they both know these objects are important and need to be protected.
But we also know that Scope, the leader of the New Gods, wants something specific, that Mayan text, the Popol Vuh. It's like he needs that one piece to solve a bigger puzzle, to unlock some kind of ancient knowledge or power.
You got it. The Popol Vuh is really important in Mayan culture. It's got their creation myths, their history, how they saw the world. Scope thinks it holds the key to those ancient technologies he's after. And wouldn't you know it, it's right there in the vault.
So the stakes are even higher now. It's not just about keeping those artifacts safe. It's about stopping this dangerous group from getting their hands on knowledge that could be used for bad things.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the Blue Division. Those Spanish soldiers from World War II, they might have been Knights of Janus, protecting this place during the war. It's like this battle between people who want to protect ancient knowledge and those who want to use it for themselves. It's been going on for a long time, hidden from everyone else.
It's crazy to think about the secrets that could be out there, right under our noses.
That's what the Spanish Papers is all about, making you think. What we know as history is just a small part of a much bigger, more complicated story. And sometimes those hidden parts, well, they hold knowledge that can change everything.
Okay, back to the action. What happens next? Does Scope get the Popol Vuh?
Well, you remember how Dr. Kotler was talking about the cave earlier, making observations? Turns out Scope was listening, and he used that information to figure out where the vault was.
Oh, man. Dr. Kotler accidentally gave away the location of the most important artifact.
Yeah, it was a mistake, but it had big consequences.
Bang.
It leads to a confrontation between Dr. Kotler and Scope, and in the end, Scope gets hurt and they capture him. But while all this is happening, the police and military show up, thanks to Agent Denzel's messages, and then, bam, a huge fight breaks out between the Knights of Janus and the New Gods, right there in that ancient cave.
A secret society battle in an underground cave. It's like a scene from an action movie. What happens? Does anyone get hurt?
It's intense. Some characters show real bravery. Detective Kozak, the cop from Mesa who didn't believe Dr. Kotler at first, he turns out to be a hero. He even loses an arm protecting someone.
Yeah.
And Agent Denzel and a SWAT officer, Cole Harrison, they almost die. It shows just how dangerous this whole thing is.
Wow, so even those who weren't part of this secret war get caught in the crosshairs.
Exactly. And in the middle of all the chaos, Dr. Kotler starts thinking. He thinks that the whole cave system, the astronomical stuff, the hidden rooms, the tricky passages, it's all a question machine.
A question machine? What do you mean by that?
He thinks those ancient structures weren't just places to live or whatever. They were designed to test whoever found them,
Yeah.
like a challenge. The architects put these challenges in the design itself. If we can figure out the astronomy, the symbols, the hidden rooms, then we can unlock the knowledge they were trying to pass down.
So it's not about finding the answers, it's about figuring out the questions those ancient people were asking. Like they left a puzzle for us to solve.
Exactly. And this question machine idea, it could apply to other places too, like the pyramids, Stonehenge, Easter Island. They might all be part of this network of knowledge encoded in how they're built, waiting for someone smart enough to figure it out.
That makes those ancient places even more amazing. They're not just cool to look at, they might actually hold secrets and knowledge.
Right. And then the Spanish Papers throws us another curveball. After the fighting, those artifacts from the vault, they disappear, vanished. Nobody knows where they went.
Seriously, they're just gone. But who took them?
The book doesn't say who or why, leaves it up to us to wonder. But there's one last scene that gives us a hint. Granger, the leader of the Knights of Janus, shows up in New York to see Dr. Kotler.
Out of the blue, what does he want?
He asks Dr. Kotler to join the Knights of Janus. They see how smart he is, how much he wants to find the truth, and they think he'd be a good fit, helping them protect ancient knowledge.
So after all that, after being stuck in the middle of a war between secret societies, Dr. Kotler gets invited to join one. Talk about a tough decision.
And that's how the book ends. Dr. Kotler thinking about the offer, and we don't know what he decides. It makes you think, what would you do? Would you stick with what you know? Or join a secret group dedicated to protecting the mysteries of the past?
The Spanish Papers is so good at keeping you guessing. It's an exciting adventure, but it also makes you think about what history really is, about the power of knowledge, and about the forces that might be working behind the scenes.
And maybe it'll even make you want to go on your own adventure. Explore the hidden parts of history and look for those connections that tie us to the past and shape our future.
Well, I know I have way more questions than answers after this deep dive, but in a good way. I'm definitely curious to learn more about ancient cultures, secret societies, and all the mysteries waiting to be solved.
That's the amazing thing about exploring, right? There's always something new to discover, always more to uncover, always more to learn. And like we saw in the Spanish Papers, sometimes the best stories are the ones that blend fact and fiction, history and mystery.
If you want an adventure that'll make you think, check out the Spanish Papers. And hey, you never know, it might inspire you to start your own investigation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into this amazing world.
Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive, the novel Aftershow. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with your fellow book lovers and leave us a review. And visit kevintomlinson.com/books to dive into your next adventure.